Good afternoon. Welcome back to Global Media Network, LLC. Passionate World Talk Radio Network is a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And on this episode of Scam Damnation with host Lillian Caldwell, we are going to talk about the dark web and everything you always wanted to know but never wanted to find out really of how to get in there until you find your personal information, credit card numbers, or other information that you do not want shared with the rest of the world leaked or breached onto the dark web. 1. What's the definition? It is part of the internet that isn't indexed by search engines, and it is a hotbed for criminal activity. Researchers Daniel Moore and Thomas Rye College in London classifies that 57% on the dark web holds illicit material. A study into the web of profit conducted by Dr. Michael Maguire at the University of Surrey says it's become much worse. The number of dark listings that could harm business has risen by more than 60% in 2019. That's more than half, and can potentially harm businesses. What can you buy on the dark web? Credit card numbers, all manner of drugs, guns, counterfeit money, stolen subscriptions, hacked accounts, software that helps you break into other people's computers. Also, counterfeit $20 bills, prepaid debit cards, and you can hire hackers to attack computers for you. You can also buy usernames and passwords. Makes you a little bit uncomfortable. However, not everything is illegal. The dark web does have a legitimate side. You can join Black Book, a social network described as the Facebook of Tor. What is the dark web used for? Patrick Tikwa, Director of Security and Architecture at Keeper Security, and the company's resident topic researcher, checks in on the dark web regularly because it's important to him to be on top of what the hackers are doing underground. Quote, I use the dark web for situational awareness, threat analysis, and keeping an eye on what's going on. I want to know what information is available and have an external digital assets that are being monetized. This gives me insight on what hackers are targeting. If and when you find your information on the dark web, there's precious little you can do about it. But know you've been compromised. Bottom line for all this, if you can tolerate the lousy performance, unpredictable availability, and occasional shock factor of the dark web, it's worth a visit. Just don't buy anything. So what's the difference between the deep web versus the dark web? The terms deep web and dark web are sometimes used for each other, but they are not. The web refers to anything on the internet that is not indexed and therefore accessible via a search through Google. Deep web content includes anything behind a paywall or requires sign-in credentials. Any content that the owners have blocked web crawlers from indexing, medical records, feed-based content, membership websites, and confidential corporate web pages examples of what makes up the deep web. Estimates place the size of the deep web at between of the internet. Only a tiny portion of the internet is accessible through a standard web browser. The dark web is a subset of the deep web that is intentionally hidden, requiring a specific browser access, as explained below. Stick through the episode and you'll find out what this entails. Only a tiny portion of the internet is accessible through a standard web browser, and that is known as the clear web. The dark web is a subset of the deep web that is intentionally hidden, requiring a specific browser access. Dark web tools and services. Into the Web of Profit identified 12 categories of tools or services that could present a network breach or data compromise. Infections or attacks, including malware, distributed denial of service, capital D, small o, capital S, and botnets. Access, including remote access, Trojans, capital R, capital A, capital T, S, key loggers and exploits. Espionage, including services, customization, and targeting. Support services such as tutorials, credentials, phishing, phishing, customer data, operational data, financial data, intellectual property / trade secrets, other emerging threats. The report also outlines 3 risk variables for each category. Devaluing the enterprise, which could include undermining brand trust, reputational damage, or to a competitor. Interesting stuff, don't you think? Things mommy never told you. Keep listening. Disrupting the enterprise, which could include DDoS attacks or other malware that affects business. Defrauding the enterprise, which could include IP theft or espionage that impairs a company's complete or causes a direct financial loss. Ransomware -S-A-service. Kits have been available on the dark web for several years. Offerings have become far more dangerous with the rise of specialized criminal groups like capital R, capital E, small VIL. These groups develop their own sophisticated malware, sometimes combined with pre-consisting, and distribute them through affiliates. The affiliates distribute the ransomware packages through the dark web. These attacks often attack victims' data and threaten to release it on the dark web if the ransom isn't paid. And you have read stories about large, successful companies paying for a release of their hostage information. This business model is successful and lucrative. IBM Security X-Force, for example, reported the ransomware engagements in 2020 involved REvil, the criminal groups that developed the malware, the affiliates' earnings typically between 20 and 30%. IBM estimates that REvil's profits are over $81 million. So, what is a dark web browser? It might make you think that navigating the dark web isn't really dangerous. However, this web is messy, and chaotic, as you would expect when everyone is anonymous and minorities are out to scam others. Accessing the dark web requires the use of an anonymous browser called Tor, T-O-R. The Tor browser requests through a series of proxy servers operated by thousands of volunteers around the world, rendering your IP address unidentifiable and untraceable. Tor works like magic, but the result is that, like the dark web itself, unpredictable, unreliable, and very slow. Still, for those who are willing to put up with this inconvenience, the dark web provides a memorial glimpse showing the underbelly of the human experience without the risk of skulking around in a dark alley. Dark web search engine. Dark web search engines exist, but even at the best are challenged to keep up with the constantly changing landscape. The experience is reminiscent of searching the web in the late 1990s. Even one of the engines called Grams, Grams, returns results that are repetitive and also irrelevant to the query, like Hidden Wiki or another option, but it's also can return a frustrating number of timeout 404 errors. Dark web websites. Didn't know there were any out there, did you? Well, the dark web websites look pretty much like any other site, but there are important differences. The structure. Instead of ending in .com or .co, dark web websites end in .onion. That's a special use domain suffix designating an anonymous hidden service reachable via the Tor network. According to the browsers. And sometimes you can reach it and sometimes you can't. Many dark websites are set up by scammers who constantly move around to avoid the wrath of us. Even commerce sites that may have existed for a year or more can and sometimes do disappear. If they owe money or flee with money that they take from us, or money they're holding on behalf of their customers. Law enforcement officers are getting better at finding and prosecuting owners of sites that sell illicit services. Back in 2017, a team of cyber cops from 3 countries successfully shut down the dark web's largest source of contraband, sending shutters throughout the network. But a lot of them just migrated somewhere else. The anonymous nature of Tor network makes it especially vulnerable to DDoS, said Keep. Sites are constantly changing addresses to avoid DDoS, which makes for a very dynamic environment. As a result, the quality of search varies widely and a lot of material is outdated. You can sell things on the dark web. The dark web has flourished thanks to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency that enables 2 parties to transact without knowing each other's identity. Bitcoin has been a major factor in the growth, and the dark web has been a big factor in the growth of Bitcoin. Nearly all dark web commerce sites conduct transactions in Bitcoin or some variant, but that does not mean it's safe to do your business there. The inherent anonymity of the place attracts scammers and thieves. So be aware when buying guns or drugs is your objective. They may just take your money and run. Dark web commerce sites have the same features as any e-retail operation, including ratings, reviews, carts, and forums, but there are important differences. One is quality control. When both buyers are anonymous, the credibility of any rating system is dubious. Ratings are easily manipulated, and with long track records have been known to suddenly disappear with their customers' crypto coins and later appear under a different name. Most e-commerce providers offer some kind of escrow service that keeps customers' funds on hold until the product has been delivered. However, in the event of a dispute, don't expect service with a smile. It's up to the buyer and the seller to duke it out. Every communication is encrypted, so even the simple requires a PGP key. And completing a transaction is no guarantee that your goods would even arrive. Many need to cross international borders, and custom officials are cracking down on suspicious packages. National Geographic runs a show on it every week. Ought to catch up and find out how they go through these packages before you even get there to claim them. The dark web news site Deep, DEEP .web, WEB, teams with stories of buyers who have been arrested or jailed for buying dark web commerce. As in the real world, the price you pay for stolen data fluctuates as the market changes. According to Affairs Dark Web Price Index 2021, these are the most current prices for some of the data and commonly traded over the dark web. A cloned credit card with PIN is $25 to $35. Credit card details with account balances up to $5,000 cost you $240. Stolen online banking logins with at least $2,000 in the account, $120. PayPal transfers from stolen accounts, $50 to $340. Hacked Coinbase verify account, $610. Hacked social media account, $1 to $60. Hacked Gmail account, $80. And hacked eBay account with good reputation, $1,000. So you're going to ask, well, is the dark web illegal? The intention of giving you this information is not everything on the dark web is nefarious, because the network originated as an anonymous communications channel, and it still serves a valuable purpose where people can communicate in environments that are hostile to free speech. Teacott said, a lot of people use it. There's eavesdropping or where internet access is criminalized. If you want to learn about privacy protection or cryptocurrency, the dark web has plenty to offer and a variety of private and encrypted email services. Instructions for installing an anonymous operating system and advanced tips are available for the privacy conscious. There's also material that you shouldn't be surprised to find on the public web, such as links to full of hard-to-find books, collections of political news from mainstream websites, and a guide to tunnels under the Virginia Tech campus. Something to know if you go to Virginia Tech. You can conduct discussions about current events anonymously or through intel exchange. There are several whistleblower sites listed, including a dark web version of Wikileaks, a BitTorrent site that law enforcement officials have repeatedly shut down. It's alive and well. Even Facebook has a dark web presence. More and more legitimate web companies are starting to have presence there. They're aware, they're cutting edge, and they're in the know. There's also plenty of practical value for some organizations. Law enforcement agencies keep a guard on the dark web, looking for stolen data from recent security breaches that might lead to the perpetrators. Many mainstream media organizations monitor whistleblower sites looking for news. So that, my friend, is all about the dark web. Please go over and visit our website, https://passionateworldtalkradio.com/blog, and you can look up this article and subsequent articles if you want to protect yourself further. I want to thank you for listening. I know that many of you will have no use for the dark web, but when and if something is breached that contains your social security number or credit card's number, you may be happy to have this information at hand. Also, you can hear this over at youtube.com/PWR Network, PW Talk Radio. Also on Spreaker.com/PWR Network, all our social media websites. The program, Scam Damnation, is sponsored by two companies, Ruby.ai, artificial intelligence. Don't wait until you need it. Get it today. Go to link https://esc73.try Ruby RUBI.ai and the podcasting obstacle course. Learn how to podcast in whatever stage of podcasting you are in. We also teach middle and high school students, homeschoolers, charter schools, private schools, public schools, and adults who find that they have stories to tell and stories to share. Go over to https://educational.passionalworldtalkradio.com/masterclass. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.